Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Today is New Year's Eve of 2024, right? Officially, it is December 31st, 2023, the last day of the new year, or last day before the new year. And I'm going to congratulate you if you're watching this video and learning how to tackle debt because most people are struggling. And it's one of those things where I don't want to think about it, right? Because it's New Year's Eve. I'm going to party it up. But here's what I want you to do. If you're going to party it up, make sure you learn how to tackle debt because your life will be much easier going forward if you learn how to tackle debt and then party it rather than just kind of, I don't want to think about it, right? I live a boring life, so I just don't like to do any of those things. I like to sleep. I like to relax, and I like to do velocity banking spreadsheets with all of you. And again, if you're here on New Year's Eve learning how to tackle debt, congratulations, because you are that 1% who's going to tackle debt, learn how to tackle debt, and not just, I don't want to think about it. That's not what you're saying, right? So before I actually get into how to do velocity banking and do our velocity banking study review, let's go ahead and read this article. It's maxed out Inside America's Credit Card Debt Crisis and What We Do Next. And this was published December 26, 2023, so just one day after Christmas. And it's from cnet.com, so you can kind of see the link right here. So it says that credit card debt shatters lives. We must take a hard look at both financial systems and our own behaviors to find a way forward. And then it says, as soon as Jose Enriquez turned 18, he applied for a credit card and wanted to start building his credit so he could one day finance the purchase of a car or home. I was told it was the only way I could start my credit in this country, he says, having relocated to the U.S. from El Salvador as a child. His credit limit was low, 500, but over the next day, I'm going to skip a few things and summarize. His credit card debt ballooned to 25 grand, and he eventually sought out debt relief company for help. Now, if you know anything about this channel, we always tackle debts like 25, 30, sometimes 50, 70 grand. Have met many people through this channel who are like six figures on paycheck to paycheck, right? So the amount of debt that you have depends on your income. And if you're able to get 25 grand in debt, and again, he lives in San Francisco, right? I know that San Francisco is really expensive, but you must make some decent income if you're going to live there. Or if you don't make income, I don't know why you wouldn't move like a city or two away and live in San Francisco. You're just asking to torture yourself, in my opinion, if you do that. All right, so now let's go into the velocity banking spreadsheet. So when we're doing velocity banking, there's only two things we need. And I say this in every single video. What's the two things that we need? First one is we need a budget, right? And I put that right here. What are the first requirements? Is the budget. And I've done all that for you, right? But if you want to try it yourself, you can try creating your own spreadsheet like this, right? And then, you have your credit cards, 1, 2, 3, student loan, rent, other gas, and we're at almost $500 left over, which is kind of living on the edge, especially if you're making 5 grand a month. I don't know. I don't know about you, but if I only had $500 left, I'd be like, ooh, right? Like, ooh, I'm living on the edge. I've seen people make like 11 grand a month and 9 grand expenses, and they got 2 grand left over, and they feel like they're living on the edge. Not even kidding. So here's the thing: if you ever want to figure out and just try this yourself, figure out minimum payments or student loan, auto loan payments, just go to bankrate.com and you can just kind of figure this all out. Type in the numbers and then it'll give you a minimum payment. Same with student loans and auto loans. They're calculated the same thing. For some reason, Bankrate has like one section for student loans and one section for auto loans, and they're calculated exactly the same, or the payment is, and the amortization schedules like they have right here. So, all right, so we have a budget. Now, what's the second thing we need? We need our operating account. We need a line of credit. Now, the amount of credit that you can get for a line of credit depends on you because there's different types. There's personal lines of credit, there's business lines of credit, there's home equity lines of credit. Usually, the preferred one when you're doing velocity banking is making your home equity line of credit as your main account, right? Your home equity line of credit, because whenever you secure anything with collateral in the banking or the debt financing world, you get lower rates and higher limits, right? That's just how lending works, right? So in this example, we're just going to assume that we have a personal line of credit at 15% and a smaller than normal credit limit then we usually talk about, because I usually use like 15 or 25 grand, but we'll say 10 grand. And some of you might be shocked, like 10 grand? Oh my gosh, in a personal line of credit, that's insane, right? But in my world, that's too little. And I have over $220,000 in lines of credit, right? Most of them are credit cards. I have a home equity line of credit and a personal line of credit. My personal line of credit is 15. My first home equity line of credit was 15K. And then my last home equity line of credit was 50K. And I think if I get a new one, I probably should be able to get like 100, maybe 150K. I don't know. But I'm okay with 50K because I honestly don't need. I'm okay with $220,000 in lines of credit for now. All right, so now we have our budget. We have our line of credit as our operating account. We're going to say 10,000. This is going to be a little bit lower than usual. And what we're going to do is transfer some debts to increase our cash flow, right? We're technically paying off these debts, and then we're going to use our line of credit as our main operating account. So let me just go ahead and do this. Velocity Banking, right? Velocity Banking. Okay. So the idea is that we're just going to make the same amount of income. Hey, and if we make more income, that's fantastic. You should always want to make more income, right? When I started this YouTube channel, I was like, my goal was just to kind of increase my income, and I'm getting an extra $150, $200 a month just from this channel, and I was able to monetize. I think within like 3 months, right? In about 2 or 3 months, I don't remember, but people started loving the content, and having an extra $200, $300 is a game changer for most people because most people, this is according to the Federal Reserve, and I don't know if this is true or not because I've read some counter articles on this trying to criticize the Federal Reserve for saying this. And this is in 2014. I remember first reading this. They could not get a $400 emergency. Like if they needed a $400 emergency, most Americans couldn't make it, right? So now, okay, what we're going to do is pay off some debts, right? And here's the thing. There's two types of debt payoff criteria. So I've kind of written this cheat sheet right here. You could use the first general debt payoff criteria, which is you're going to look for debts that fit as much as possible in these three: highest payment, lowest balance, and highest interest, right? And usually all of your debts are going to fit two of three, and then you have to figure out, all right, which one is it worth it to pay, right? So the other thing that you might consider is the cash flow index, which is just a formula, and I'm just going to show you how this works, right? So let me just do this here. All it is a formula where you get the statement balance. So you see the statement balance right here, 10,000, and then you divide it by the payment. So 10,000 divided by 3. Oh, whoopsie, I screwed up. Divided by 325, right? And then you get this arbitrary number. So let me just do this: 15,000 divided by 512.5, and then this is $5,000 divided by 175, and just kind of do this quickly. And then this is 20,000. That's the balance divided by 386.66, and then this one is 21,000 divided by 405.99. And you could kind of think of this as like a ranking system, right? So the lower the number, that's the debt usually you want to pay off first because you get more bang for your buck in terms of cash flow when you pay it off, right? So think about like a mortgage. Like a mortgage is usually maybe like a $200,000 loan, and it's a $1,200 a month payment, right? But when you pay that mortgage off, think about it, you paid $200,000 just to get $1,200 back. And that's why when you do that formula with the cash flow index, it's a high number. And if you ever want like a more detailed explanation, I would Google Wealth Factory, Garrett Gunderson, cash flow index, and has this whole explanation about how the system works, right? So this is the lowest number, and this is a $5,000 balance. Again, we only have a $10,000 limit. So let's go ahead and do this, right? So let's go ahead and do this and move this $5,000 here into this line of credit, right? And again, if you don't know what a line of credit is, all it is a financial tool where you can borrow money, pay it back, and use it over and over again. And the beauty of it, with personal and home equity lines of credit, you just click a button on the bank's website and they dump cash into your checking account, right? Credit cards are lines of credit, but in order to get cash from a credit card, it's a little bit tough, right? A little bit trickier. All right, so now we've done that. So now we got $5,000, and then what happens here? pretty much all of our expenses are kind of going to stay the same except for this one right here. So this is going to be 0, right? Because when we move balances, this goes to 0. And so our expenses kind of slightly decrease. This goes to 0. And then we're going to calculate our cash flow, which is C2 minus C3. So we have $669 of cash flow. So not bad, right? And then we're going to use this to pay this $5,000 off. So now what we're going to do is just going to put our entire paycheck. So this is the actual velocity banking strategy. We put our entire paycheck here, and this does two things. It satisfies the minimum monthly payment, okay? And it minimizes the interest. Why? Because the interest is calculated by the average daily balance, and when you dump your entire paycheck in, that's the minimum, that the lowest that it'll ever be, right? All right, so now what we're going to do is just, let's say 1 month has passed and we got the first statement. So this is H2 minus 669.85. Okay, and let's go ahead and calculate that average daily balance. So there's this average formula right here, right? And it'll give you the midpoint between these two numbers, although that's not how the average daily balance is calculated, but this is good enough. And then you multiply by the interest rate, which is 0.15. Right? You see this interest rate right here, and then you divide by 12, right? And now what we're going to do is on the next month, month 2, we got to sum up both numbers. So it's H3 plus I3, right? And then subtracted by our cash flow minus 669.85, right? And then we just now copy the paste the formulas going forward. That's it, right? And let's see how long it takes us to get to that negative number, which is when we're going to transfer additional debt. So it's going to take us about 8 months to pay off $5,000. So let's go ahead and write that as our milestone, right? So 8 months, $5,000, right? That's our milestone. Let me do this. Copy paste. And I'm just going to put milestones right here, right? 8 months to pay off this $5,000. Now the next thing we got to do is we can go ahead and either pay off $5,000 here and take this one on first. But here's the thing: even though this one's a lower interest rate, because it's a lower balance, it's a relatively high payment, even though it's a slightly higher cash flow index number, I might just want to move this one and get rid of it, right? And increase my cash flow immediately by $225. Now, obviously, this cash flow it will increase your cash flow if you just kind of try to pay much of this off, like $10,000, because credit card payments are variable, unlike amortized loans like student or auto loans, right? They're not fixed. All right, so now we can go ahead and do this, and we'll just move this $10,000. We're going to make it easy on ourselves. We don't want to think too much, and that's the important thing. Dave Ramsey says that personal finance is not really math, it's mostly behavior, and that's really true, right? And here's the thing: if you think about it way too much, and get everything so accurate to the point, which I'm doing right now, sometimes it might hinder your understanding or your implementation of the strategy. I'm not going to lie. All right, so now we're going to put 10,000 right here, and then now this is going to be 0, right? Now our cash flow is almost $1,000. Oh my gosh, how did that happen, right? And now what we do is now we subtract 994.85, right? And then we just rinse and repeat, because our new cash flow is almost $10,000, and we're going to pay that sucker off. So 9, 10, let me use a formula. So J12 plus 1. Now let's see how long it takes us to pay that off. So that's 19 months, right? So 19 months, okay, to pay off $10,000. Actually, you know what? I kind of did this wrong. Because after 8 months, right? So this is when we added the $10,000. After 8 months, this is not going to be $10,000. This is going to be a little bit less than $10,000. So let's try to be a little bit accurate here. So 10,000. I'm sorry. And then what's the interest rate? 27%. And again, I really don't like to be too accurate, just because I feel like it scares off people to be that. But for today, New Year's Eve, let's go crazy. right? So $10,000 balance, 27% interest rate, and how many payments was that? 8 months. So we got to go to month 8, and that's 9227.45. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so 9227.45, that's the balance at this time. So instead of adding 10K, we're going to add 9227.45. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And now take a look, right? So this kind of decreased our payoff time. So right here, it's going to be 18 months, okay? So anywhere you see the negative, that means that's the actual payoff, right? So 18 months. And how much? So 18 months, and how much money did we do? We paid off. We paid off this balance and this balance, so that's 15K, right? 18 months is 15K. Mind blown. All right, so credit card number 2. Now after 18 months, we got to figure out like what's the balance on this 15K, and let's go ahead and do that. So 15,000, and 29% interest rate, and let's calculate it. And let's look for 18. So now it's $12,517.69. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we paid off about $3,000 when doing this just by making the normal payments, right? Okay, so now what we do at this here is we add that 12,000, and we got to make sure we take out the comma here because Excel doesn't like commas with math. And we just do this, right? Actually, we can't even do that. You know why? Because the credit limit's only $10,000. My bad. So let's just do this. Let's just do 2,517, right? And then what's our new cash flow then, right? So now this is going to be now 10,000. Okay, so if we pay off $2,000, right? $2,000. What's our new cash flow here? So let's do 10,000 at 29%. And hopefully I'm not going too fast. This is going to be 34167. So one of the things that we're kind of doing inaccurately is that we're not like accounting every single month of how the payment changes, because that's just going to take way too long to do. So we're just approximating it, right? So you see our cash flow is like pretty much increased just by making a few changes, paying this off over time. And again, this will probably be even a quicker payoff, right? Because we didn't change the monthly payment. And it's a little bit trickier with credit cards, because with credit cards, right? Let me just do this here. With credit cards, the payment's variable, and you got to update every single month. Now, if you want to be accurate like I am, I keep track of every single month of doing this. So 1165.68. 1165.68. Okay. So now, let's see how long. Oopsie. Okay. So now, what we're going to do is pay this sucker off in about 21 months, at least $2,000 of it. And then let's just do this. Let's just assume that it's still 10,000. You know, I know it's going to go down a little bit, but let's make the math easy. Now, what we do is when you move that 10,000 to this point, right? So let's add the 10,000 here, plus 10,000. Okay. Now what happens to our cash flow? What happens to our cash flow? Bam, right? Our cash flow is now 1,500, right? It's like we got another $1,000 of cash flow, not immediately, but almost after about 2 years. Let's see how long it takes us to pay these 3 credit cards off approximately. So now what we're going to do is subtract 1,507.35. All right, so now that's the next one. So whoopsie. Okay, so now let's go ahead and subtract this new cash flow of 1,507.35, right? And we're just going to copy and paste until we get that negative number, right? And here we are. Oh, 21. What's going on? Okay, so let me just do this. J 22, 23 plus 1. Okay, so now 28 months. All right, so what's our milestone here? 28 months to pay off, let me see, 10, 15, 15 plus 15. Did I do this wrong? So 15 plus 15 is 30K of debt. Does that sound right? Yeah, that sounds right. 30K of debt. Now we have the student loan and the auto loan. And I don't know which one you want to pay off first. Same interest rate. One of them has a lower balance, but one of them has a higher payment. But here's the thing: if I pay this one off first, it might be a little bit easier, but it's not going to be that much easier. But let's just see. Okay, so 28 months. How many? 28 months. So what we're going to do is going to go to that calculator and then type in 20,000 and then calculate and then show amortization schedule. I'm just going to say that it starts in the first. And then now let's count 28 times and figure out what the loan balance is. So 28, that's like 2 years and 4 months. So we got to go to January 2025 and then go jump 4 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, April 2025. And so now our balance is 11,000, right? 11,000. Okay. So now at this point, when we're doing velocity banking, this is going to be 11,000. Not bad, right? So not bad. And let's just do this. So if we move this 11,000 here, right? I think we can actually move it the month before. But let me just think. Yeah, so let's just move this 11,000 the month before, right? And then we should have enough to move this 10,000 in here and then free up that cash flow. Again, this might mess with our calculations a little bit, but yeah, why don't we just do that? And so that we don't have to, I'm being impatient. I want to just get rid of this loan. Plus 1735.6, right? And now it's going to be a 10,000. Actually, no, that didn't work out right. So let me just do this. Let me just do $2,000, right? So 2,000. Actually, 2,000. No, would that work? I mean, again, I'm just fumbling around this, but let's just move that one. So let's make this $10,000. Okay, so $1,735.60. Oh, I can't speak today. Okay, so now plus 1735.6, right? And then it's just one more month. Okay, and I gotta make my numbers straight. Okay, so now this is gonna essentially be 10K at this point. Now I get it. There's that extra payment, but I don't want to make the math a little bit, so complicated and keep track of every single little thing. But let's just say it's 10K now, and then now let's go ahead and move that 10K balance to here. Okay, so plus 10,000,000. All right. Now, what happens when we move that 10K balance? We'll take a look at this, right? This is now zero. Bam. Right? And now our cash flow is $1,894.01. Okay? So let's go ahead and now subtract this with our new cash flow of $1,894.01. And then we're just going to keep going. Yeah, let's go ahead and keep going, right? Bam, bam, bam. Look how fast that's going. So 30, 31, and actually let me just do this. Do it with the formula. 34 months. 34 months. And now it's 30K plus 20K, so it'll be 50K of debt. Okay? Now what we got to do is we got to do $21,000 auto loan. Okay, calculate. And then figure out how many months is that? At 34 months, what the balance is, right? So let me just kind of do a quick 34 divided by 12. So that's 2 years. 2 years, so it's 24 and 10 months. Okay, so 2 years and 10 months. Let's go ahead and do that. So that's going to be January 2025, August 2020. No, I'm sorry, October 2025. So let's go ahead and do that. And that's this number right here. So, we've paid off a good portion of this sum, even half of it, right? All right, so now we got 232, 230, 12 interest. And what we can do is just maybe move just one amount of our cash flow, just maybe $2,000, and then that'll be it. All right, so let's just do this. Let's move $2,000 and make this 8232, and then we're going to move it here because we want to be able to move the entire credit line plus 2000. Okay, and then just still the same cash flow, right? And then okay, so now what we're going to do is move the rest of that payment, and it's going to be less than 8,000, right? Or 8,230, but don't worry about it. All right, so now let's go ahead, right, and move that 8,000. How much is it? 8230.12. Let's move that there. And now what happens is our cash flows increased again. Oh my goodness, 405 to 0. And now our cash flow is 2,300. Bam, look at that. Look how much we increased that cash flow, right? And so now we're going to keep going, and then we're going to subtract it by 2,300. Okay? Was it 2,300? Yeah, 2,300 going forward. This is insane. This is insane. Insanity. And look how easy it is, right? So 36, 30. Let me go ahead and copy that formula again. And now, since this is the final debt, we don't have any negative balances. No. We're just going to be 0, right? And so what's 39 months? So let me just calculate 39 divided by 12. That's 3 years and 3 years and 3 months, right? So now if we just do this, 3 years, 3 months, we paid off. We're going to add, all right, so we're going to add this to 50K. So that's 71K. So it took us 3 years and 3 months to pay off 71K. And look how easy that was, right? Again, the more debt, the more of our debts that we pay off, and we use our line of credit as our main tool, paying off debt is incredibly easy, right? And now we're going to actually have 23,000, I'm not sorry, 23,000, 2,300 in our checking and savings, and we're not going to have like debt eating it up. Because I don't know if you ever met those people where they got 20 grand in savings, 20 grand in debt, right? They have 20 grand savings, 20 grand debt, and that's where the banks want you because that's how they make money, right? If you were a lender, think about this. If you were a lender and you lend people money and they paid you off quickly, wouldn't you be a little pissed? Because you don't make money anymore, right? And that's why there's a saying that says the best credit decision is not the best financial decision, right? So lenders love to reward you when you give them money. That's all I'm saying. All right, so now this is pretty much it, right? So we just kind of move and transfer debts over and over again. It's took us only 3 years and 3 months to pay off 71K. And take a look at this guy, right? Remember how he was freaking out about 25K and lives in San Francisco? if you live in San Francisco, you got to make more than the average bear, or there's no way you're going to even be able to rack up 25K. You're either like living on the edge, making $300,000 a year, or you're homeless, and unfortunately, a lot of bad decisions have been made in that city to increase that the unfortunate situation with a lot of people in that city. That's all I gotta say. Like I don't want to make any like direct opinions about that, but that's just the reality. I mean, look it up. Just type in YouTube San Francisco, right? It's pretty gross. Anyways, all right. So that's pretty much it for today. So this is our New Year's Rockin' Eve with regards to velocity banking. So if you're here today in New Year's Eve and you're studying velocity banking, congratulations. You're part of the bold few who are going to use their time to go into the new year, be able to pay off debt easily and just relax, right? You can party it up, but it's much easier to party up and relax if you don't have debt, right? I'm going to be sleeping well tonight. That's just me because I'm like Garfield, right? I don't like to stay up late. I like to sleep. I like to eat well. I like to live a relaxed life. That's just me. All right. So 3 years, 3 months, 71K. What do you think? Are you in this situation? Hopefully, if you are, you're going to be able to get out of it easily. If not, no worries, because we have a mentorship group. Go ahead and click the link down below on the Google form if you're interested in joining. Yes, there is a cost, but we'll go over it when we have the one-on-one call with you. Other than that, have a great day, and we will speak next time.